So one of the amazing things about my Panasonic S5 is that it made me much better at using my Sony a6400, but in a different kind of way that I had never used it before, because I'm keeping this camera for one reason. I'm working on a film right now, and I definitely need a second camera, and I definitely need a camera that has better reach than the current reach that my S5 has, because I don't have any long lenses, and I have the 55 to 210 for this camera, which is really a far-reaching camera that goes over 300 because of the APS-C sensor. It's a crop sensor. So my 55 to 210 is really like a 78 to 3 something. It's much further. So I'm keeping it for that, and then I'm probably going to sell it because I really can't own two cameras right now. Or maybe I can, I don't know. But one thing that's making me rethink selling this at all is that I've been using this for still photography, which is something I never did before. Like, ever since I've owned this camera for the last couple of years, I have done nothing but shoot video with it, just make filmmaking. But lately I've been taking it out. First I set it in auto mode, and I just went out and shot a bunch of, still photos, and I started to get into it. Like, I really started to enjoy it. And I was like, maybe I could do this too. And so then I really started to deep dive it, and I got more into manual mode, and I've been really coming up with some stuff that I really love that I think can kind of, add to the visual art that I'm creating right now. And so I have it. I think I probably will use it only with this Sony 35mm f1.8 OSS lens. I also have a Sigma 16mm, the f1.4. I'll probably sell that. I have a Samyang 12mm. I'll probably sell that. I have the 55 to 210, like I said, and I have this. And this is like the equivalent of a 50mm. So I kind of have a nice little camera that I can carry around with me easily with a equivalent 50mm lens, which, nifty 50, like what everybody likes to have. And it's really expanded my vision, so to speak. And I've actually gotten to know my new neighborhood a lot better because I've been running around taking photos around here, and it's been really, really interesting. And I actually think it's also helped my filmmaking because it's actually helping me with my framing. Like, I'm being a lot more discerning about what I want in the frame. I mean, I finally understand when directors do this. I used to think that was like kind of pretentious and stupid, but now I actually get it, where you can really see what's going to be in the frame if you do that, And so I think it's made me a better filmmaker, it's made me a better director, it's made me be a little bit more meticulous with what I am shooting and what I want to aid me in communicating or telling the story that I'm trying to tell. The weather is starting to get bad, so I'm getting very close to the beginning of shooting for my film. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's going to be in the film today, and we were talking about when we're going to shoot, where we're going to shoot, and I have some stuff that I'm going to do down by the George Washington Bridge in Manhattan, and she happens to be a police officer, so she's going to be able to help me to make sure I don't, first of all, get arrested, and also so I don't die, because some of the stuff is a little dangerous that we're going to shoot. But I've just been thinking about how I want to go down there now, and I just want to get a bunch of still shots of what exactly I want my framing to look like for that whole part of the film, and actually for the entire film. I'm going to start to use that practice, because what I've done in the past is I've just kind of drawn little shots, like I guess my version of storyboarding. I've always done that from my playwriting. I have kind of drawn what I want it to look like, but also just written down like every step of the way of my journey. And I buy these poster boards, like big literal poster boards, clean out my living space, and I put the poster boards on the floor, and I literally walk through my story to make sure that everything makes sense, time-wise, chronologically, etc. And so I think using this amazing camera that I have, which is definitely better than my cell phones, although my LG V60 takes incredible photos. And I actually took this photo of a tree recently with the LG, and I think it's unbelievable, but this gives me a lot more control. I can really decide what I want to be in focus and what I don't want to be in focus, and I can deal with the exposure much better, and I can deal with the aperture, and you know, I can do a lot of things more creatively with a blurred background with my bokeh. So I think I might wind up keeping this, but then again, I could sell this and get another incredible lens for my Panasonic S5, which is going to be my main creative tool now for the next couple of years, I'm sure. And so it's amazing, you know, it's like sometimes just when you think you're about to let go of something, you realize the value in what you're about to let go of, and you start to kind of reflect upon it and think about all the things that it's done for your life, and you know, how it's helped you to grow and evolve, you know, not only as an artist in my case, but as a human being. And I think this is a kind of a metaphor for many things where, you know, for a while I was like, I'm just going to use this for that one shot, you know, down at the bridge, and then I'm just going to sell it because this is enough for me. You know, I'm a solo shooter, and why do I need, you know, I guess if I'm being hired to do documentaries and things like that, it would be more responsible of me to show up with two cameras, you know, just in case, God forbid, something happens to one of them. But honestly, I mean, this sounds weird after saying all that, but my LG V60 has all the manual controls. And because I shot a feature film on an LG V40, which is basically the same phone, I really feel like that's a pretty good backup in case of an emergency for using my camera. Now, obviously, it's not as good as using this, especially for video, but then again, like I said, I shot a whole movie on that phone, so I probably could get away with selling this and just having that phone as a backup and feeling relatively responsible in doing that. But then again, if I'm working for somebody, they would probably feel a lot better if I had something like this as a backup. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to share that, you know, one of the advantages that I have gained in moving on to this Lumix S5 is that I've looked deeper into my a6400 to see what it can do, and it has kind of pushed me to do more still photography, which is something that I've always enjoyed. You know, I've certainly shot a lot with my phone, and you know, people seem to like what I shoot, but this, I think, has made me a much better photographer. And it's all because I was about to cut it loose, which I still might do, I'm not sure, but at least it has me thinking, you know? And so, anyway, I'm not going to make this a long video. I did want to share, though, that I'm doing a lot of location stuff right now in preparation for my film, and I will share some of that as I do that. You know, as I get to those places, I'll share some of the stuff that I'm doing, and I'll give you some, you know, visual documentation of where I'm doing it and what I'm thinking of and stuff like that, because I think it might be interesting for anybody thinking of shooting their own film. My process might be of some interest to you. I don't know, maybe not, but I'll definitely share it with you. And so that's it. I just wanted to talk about how the Panasonic S5 helped me with my Sony a6400, and actually, obviously, this camera is the reason I could actually even use that camera, because that Lumix S5 is so packed, so packed with video features that if I hadn't learned everything that I've learned from this camera, I couldn't even have picked up that camera and probably gotten past, you know, turning it on. Like, I'm sure I could have turned it on, but beyond that, I wouldn't have had any idea of what I was doing. But because of what this armed me with, I have a camera that's much more capable now, that I actually know how to use and can take advantage of all these amazing features. I'm really looking forward to getting some funds together and getting a couple of anamorphic lenses for this camera, but also experimenting with the Cinema 4K, because I think it's almost the same thing. Like, it uses the entire width of the sensor, so it's not the same as anamorphic, obviously, but it's almost the same kind of effect. So I'm looking forward to that with the Panasonic, something I can't do with this. I'm really experimenting more and more. I'm somebody who never really dealt with slow motion all that much. I always used to think it was kind of an easy way out or a manipulative way to express yourself, when you can do things in real time and just keep it in real life. Like, I'm much more into a documentary style filmmaker. Even though I do narrative films, I try to keep it more real, you know, more 35 to 50 millimeter shooting, so it just looks like real life, not all that stylized. But yeah, I've been thinking more about kind of using some of the tools that I have in this camera to be a little bit more stylized. So using more slow motion, which, you know, I have slow motion in here too, but in this camera I can shoot 4K 60 even though with a crop. And the last thing I want to mention is this, which is kind of complicated for making a full-length feature film. So that means I'm probably going to have a 2-hour story, which means I'm probably going to have, you know, 10 times that amount of footage. I have decided to shoot everything in 4K. Now, I shot my first film in 1080 because even though I had the choice to shoot it in 4K on the phone, I don't know, it just seemed like completely overwhelming to me to deal with 4K on a phone. And it was my first time out, so, and you know, 1080 looked fine to me. But I want to shoot this in 4K because I'm shooting by myself, and because of the experience that I have from shooting the first film, I want to be able to punch in and create the illusion that I have more cameras and, you know, change it up a little bit, and I can do that much more effectively with 4K footage because I'm not going to be losing the quality when I punch in that you lose in 1080. And I keep doing this, but I could shoot 4K in this too. But yeah, I think I'm going to shoot that film in 4K all the way through because I'm shooting 90% of it all by myself. And that means that what I've been doing is buying hard drives. Whenever I have any extra money, I'm just buying another SSD hard drive. So I'm trying to have at least 8-10 terabytes of memory so I can store everything that I'm going to need for this film. So yeah, it's going to be quite the journey. I'm really excited about it. And so again, I'll stop here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll continue to share my process as I move forward, and I really appreciate you coming by. And yeah, do your thing. Thanks so much for coming by. Peace.